Hallo Freunde und willkommen im Stream. Willkommen im Auge des Sturms. It's Friday again. Yes, Friday night, Freitagabend. Und es gibt Neuigkeiten im TI-Land und die werde ich euch natürlich gleich hier verkünden. Ich denke sowieso, die meisten von euch haben es natürlich mitbekommen. Eine kleine Sensation ist passiert in dieser Woche, ist jetzt schon ein paar Tage her. Ja, eine größere Nachrichtenseite in den USA hat über TIs berichtet, hat über Targeted Justice berichtet und das ist doch mal eine Sache, die man wirklich, die man wirklich erwähnen kann, weil das passiert nicht alle Tage. Und das ist auch ein Beweis für erfolgreiche Medienarbeit, ja, weil das zeigt, dass wenn eine Gruppe von Menschen gemeinsam an einer Sache arbeiten und an einer Sache dranbleiben und andere Menschen gemeinsam informieren, dann kann das dazu führen, ja, dass sich die Augen öffnen, dass Dinge wahrgenommen werden, die vorher nicht wahrgenommen wurden, dass dann vielleicht auch berichtet wird dort, wo vorher nicht berichtet wurde. Wir werden es uns gleich ansehen. Also kurz gesagt, dieses Medium, es handelt sich um The Gateway Pundit, also nicht die kleinste Online-News-Seite in den USA, schon eine größere Geschichte, eher konservativ ausgerichtet, aber diese Seite hat berichtet über Targeted Justice, über einen offenen Brief von Anna Toledo und hat den abgedruckt. Und das ist doch mal wirklich eine tolle Sache. Und daran kann man sehen, wenn Menschen gemeinsam an einer Sache arbeiten, gemeinsam ein Projekt vorantreiben, dann kann das zum Erfolg führen. Und das sollte doch Schule machen für die vielen, vielen TI-Gruppen da draußen und sollte doch zum Nachahmen anregen, hoffe ich doch mal. Wir werden uns das Ganze natürlich nachher noch ein bisschen genauer ansehen. Ja, ihr seid hier im Auge des Sturms und wenn ihr in dieser Sendung vielleicht auch mal teilnehmen möchtet, es gibt die Möglichkeit hier seine TI-Geschichte zu erzählen. Für alle da draußen, die keine TIs sind, die das trotzdem interessiert, die das trotzdem angucken. Was ist ein TI? Ein TI ist ein Targeted Individual, eine Zielperson, ein Betroffener von organisiertem Stalking, von Angriffen mit elektromagnetischen Waffen, mit V2K, mit Voice to Skull oder Voice to School. Das heißt, das sind Audio- oder visuelle Angriffe, Übertragungen, die direkt in den Kopf stattfinden und wo die betroffene Person dann eben zum Beispiel Stimmen hört oder zum Beispiel bestimmte visuelle Optiken in den Kopf übertragen bekommt oder andere Dinge. Und das Ganze kann natürlich auch unterschwellig passieren. Das heißt, das Ganze kann auch so gemacht werden, dass die Person das erstmal gar nicht wahrnimmt, sondern ja, dass das im Unterbewussten sozusagen passiert. Ja, darum geht es in dieser Sendung. Im Auge des Sturms ist die einzige regelmäßige deutschsprachige Sendung zu diesem Thema in den USA. Gibt es natürlich viel mehr zu dem Thema. Unter anderem auch die sehr gute Sendung von Melissa Miller, die jeden Sonntagabend stattfindet in Deutschland um 22 Uhr, kann die gesehen werden. In den USA ist es am Nachmittag, 15 Uhr herum. The Chosen Heroes, da geht es natürlich auch um das Thema und auch mit vielen Interviews, mit Gästen, Sendungsgästen, die dann ihre Story erzählen, was so bei ihnen Sache ist. Und ja, kann ich nur empfehlen. Und es gibt natürlich noch andere Sendungen in den USA, die jetzt nicht so regelmäßig stattfinden, die jetzt vielleicht so alle paar Wochen, wo alle paar Wochen mal was Neues erscheint, neues Interview, neues vorproduziertes Format und so weiter. Gibt es verschiedene Formate. Ja, aber wenn ihr am Laufenden bleiben wollt und das Ganze auf Deutsch, ja, dann müsst ihr hier einschalten. Das Ganze kann man sehen auf YouTube oder auf X. Also wenn ihr mein Name ist Harald Brems und wenn ihr mich auf X abonniert habt, dann könnt ihr das Ganze jetzt, den Stream natürlich auch auf X verfolgen und ansonsten hier auf YouTube. Und ihr könnt mich auch gerne kontaktieren. Meine Kontaktdaten sind dort auch. Also wenn man mich sucht im Internet, findet man mich. Sollte eigentlich möglich sein. Einfach mal den Namen in eine Suchmaschine eingeben und dann findet man schon was. Ja, und vielleicht, ich mache jetzt heute mal ein bisschen so ein paar Termine schon mal vorne weg. Dann haben wir nämlich nachher für unser Thema heute. Ein bisschen mehr Zeit. Ich habe euch nämlich heute ein Interview mitgebracht von einem sehr sympathischen US-Amerikaner namens Kindoo Mannion-Vanover. Kindoo lebt jetzt in den USA, in Colorado, hat aber jahrelang in den Niederlanden gelebt und war dort verheiratet, hat dort ein Kind und hat damals vor Jahren schon ein bisschen Stress mit der Polizei bekommen in den Niederlanden. Da ging das Ganze los. Und ja, ist dann immer schlimmer geworden, ist eskaliert, woraufhin er dann die Niederlande verlassen hat, in die USA gezogen ist. Aber dort ging es dann weiter und heute ist er eben ein Betroffener von V2K oder Voice to Skull. Und ja, das ist das Thema natürlich. Er erzählt uns, was so Sache ist bei ihm, wie sich das Ganze so anfühlt, wie man damit lebt, wie man als V2K-Betroffener lebt, was man so alles erlebt und so weiter. Das werden wir nachher sehen. Da habe ich euch ein schönes Interview. Er erzählt ausführlich, wie das so abläuft bei ihm, was so Sache ist und so weiter. Aber vorher noch ein paar Termine. Sonntagabend könnt ihr dann, wie gesagt, The Chosen Heroes mit Melissa Miller angucken. Und da wird diesen Sonntag Dr. Waldemir de Oliveira da sein. Das ist der Vizepräsident für Südamerika, für Latin America. Er kommt selbst aus Brasilien, so viel ich weiß. Und ja, das Ganze hier ab 22 Uhr auf YouTube, ja, oder auf Rumble. Auf Rumble gibt es natürlich auch immer die Möglichkeit, ja, bei mir hier in der Sendung, ich habe das nicht, das hat ja nicht so gut funktioniert. Da gab es irgendwelche Übertragungsprobleme. Das Ganze war ein bisschen stotterig, ein bisschen abgehackt sozusagen, ja, aber Melissas Sendung kann man auf Rumble angucken oder auf YouTube, ja. Und ja, wenn ihr Lust habt mitzuarbeiten, wenn ihr irgendwas tun wollt und irgendwas tun könnt, wenn ihr irgendwelche Fähigkeiten habt und die gerne einbringen möchtet bei Targeted Justice, dann gibt es immer noch die Kampagne Digital Warriors, ja, da kann man, das ist eine Gruppe, die sich mit Medienarbeit, Öffentlichkeitsarbeit, soziale Medien und so weiter befasst. Ja, da gibt es eine schöne Rubrik auf der Webseite von Targeted Justice. Kann man sich das Ganze mal angucken mit Video, wo alles super erklärt wird. Und ja, es gibt natürlich auch die Möglichkeit, andere Dinge zu tun. Also Volunteers, das sind freie Mitarbeiter. Wenn ihr da irgendwelche Gaben habt, irgendwelche Fähigkeiten und die einbringen möchtet, könnt ihr das natürlich tun. Dann meldet euch bei Targeted Justice und zwar unter tjustice2@proton.me. Und das Ganze erfährt man natürlich auch über den Newsletter. Also kann ich auch nur empfehlen, den Newsletter zu abonnieren von Targeted Justice. Dann seid ihr immer auf dem Laufenden. So. Ja, das war erstmal die Übersicht und jetzt kommen wir gleich mal zum zweiten Punkt. Und zwar möchte ich euch natürlich den Artikel zeigen von The Gateway Pundit. Ja, ich hoffe, ich spreche es richtig aus. Pundit, ich nehme an Pundit wahrscheinlich, ne? Ja, wir gucken uns das Ganze mal an. So sieht das aus hier. Ja. Also, ja, hier erschienen am 12. April. Und das Ganze könnt ihr natürlich auch, aber wir machen das jetzt hier über den Browser. Wenn ihr zufälligerweise den Brave-Browser installiert habt, der kann englische Seiten übersetzen von Haus aus. Ja. Da gibt es dann nur, da fragt ihr euch immer, ob ihr das übersetzen wollt. Und dann sagt ihr ja, sucht euch die Sprache aus und dann übersetzt er euch das. Funktioniert bei fast allen Webseiten. Nicht bei allen, aber bei fast allen. Und dann kann man sich hier schön den Text übersetzen lassen. Ja. Also, gut, Targeted Justice wird hier mit gezielte Gerechtigkeit übersetzt. Das ist natürlich klar, ist jetzt keine KI-Übersetzung, ist eine primitive Übersetzung, aber trotzdem. Ich denke, das Nötigste kann man rauslesen, das Nötigste wird übermittelt. Na, also hier Targeted Justice, eine Organisation für bürgerliche Freiheiten, die Opfer rechtswidriger Überwachung und Belästigung vertritt, hat einen Brief an die Sekretärin des Heimatschutzministeriums DHS, steht für Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, abgefeuert. Na, gesendet, indem sie ein sofortiges Ende dessen fordert, was sie als unamerikanisch und illegal bezeichnen. Finanzierte Programme von der Agentur. Der Brief von Anna Toledo, Anwältin für Targeted Justice, beschuldigt das DHS, über die Fusion Center ein weitläufiges Netzwerk von Überwachungs-, Belästigungs- und psychologischen Operationen organisiert zu haben, das sich unter dem Deckmantel der Terrorismusbekämpfung gegen unschuldige Amerikaner richtet. In dem Brief wird behauptet, dass das DHS eine Schattenkampagne gegen 300.000 Amerikaner finanziert, die zu Unrecht in die Terrorist Screening Database, kurz TSDB, aufgenommen wurden. Unter Berufung auf die Generalprüfung des Justizministeriums behauptet Targeted Justice, dass 97% der Einträge keine bekannten Verbindungen zum Terrorismus haben und die Liste als Instrument um Whistleblower zum Schweigen zu bringen oder politische Aktivisten, Angeklagte vom 6. Januar. Wir erinnern uns, das waren die damals das Kapitol gestürmt haben. Und Eltern, die an Schulbehörden protestieren, also Gruppen, die sie als Feinde des tiefen Staates bezeichnet. Und dann hat Christopher Medlin, das ist auch ein Vizepräsident von Targeted Justice, sagte in seinem Schreiben, wir haben uns für Europa und Südamerika eingesetzt, da wir unser eigenes Land haben, das Fusion-Zentren benutzt, um die Leute zu verfolgen und zu belästigen. Und dann kommt eine Kopie des Schreibens von Anna Toledo. Also, ihr könnt euch das Ganze natürlich selbst in Ruhe mal ganz entspannt durchlesen, wenn ihr da mal Lust drauf habt. Ist wirklich sehr interessant und ich denke, das ist dann schon mal eine größere Sache. Ja, also es passiert nicht alle Tage, dass so eine große, also das ist so vergleichbar wie wenn jetzt in Deutschland, naja, jetzt vielleicht nicht gerade der Spiegel, aber ja, wie wenn jetzt hier web.de oder sowas oder also schon ein bisschen was Größeres darüber berichten würde. Ist natürlich auch schon ein Alternativmedium, ganz klar. Also ist jetzt kein Mainstream-Medium, aber schon von der Größe her nicht zu verachten. Ne? Also schon, die haben, glaube ich, schon richtig viele Leser. Das geht dann, glaube ich, schon in die Millionen, so was die an Lesern haben jeden Tag. Haben schon viele Leute mitgekriegt. Hier seht ihr auch schon über 300 Kommentare, da haben dann Leute hingeschrieben und so weiter. Und das ist natürlich auch eine gute Möglichkeit, wie man die Sache publik machen kann, indem man dann einfach größere Webseiten anvisiert, sich da in die Kommentarspalte begibt, sich da anmeldet sozusagen. Geht natürlich auch bei jeder Zeitung, jede größere Zeitung in Deutschland hat ihre eigene Webseite mit Kommentarspalte. Dann kann man sich da anmelden und dann kann man da eben schreiben, ja, und die Menschen darüber aufklären, über diese geheimen Projekte, über diese geheimen Programme, die da laufen im Hintergrund. Und ja, wir denken, dass die Menschen das einfach wissen müssen, wissen sollten, weil es sonst einfach niemals aufhören wird. Sonst wird es einfach nie zu Ende gehen. Ja, das war The Gateway Pundit und kann ich euch nur ans Herz legen, falls ihr das noch nicht kennt, falls ihr das noch nicht gelesen habt, dann tut es unbedingt. Das ist eine kleine Sensation. Und wir kommen jetzt zum dritten Punkt, zum dritten Point. Und das ist das Interview mit Kindoo Mannion-Vanover. Und ich habe das Ganze, es ist auf Englisch, aber ich habe das Ganze mit deutschen Untertiteln versehen, sodass auch die Leute, die jetzt nicht so gut Englisch sprechen, da auch ein bisschen was davon mitbekommen. Ich wünsche euch viel Spaß mit dem Interview. Ich werde mich jetzt ein bisschen zurückhalten. Ich denke, es ist alles ausführlich erklärt. Und ab geht die Post. Welcome to my show. My guest today is Mr. Kindoo Mannion-Vanover. He is a US citizen who lived in the Netherlands in the past. And while he lived there, there has been some trouble with the police. He lived there with his wife and his son. And while he lived there, there was some trouble with the police. Things started and he became a person which we call targeted individual. This is a person who is followed by strangers, who is attacked with gangstalking and or directed energy weapons. And Kindoo is one of these people, is one of the persons of this group. And later he went to the US and had also some trouble there. And today he is a victim also of V2K, of Voice to Skull. Kindoo, I'm very glad that you are here in my show today. Thank you for coming. You are here to talk about your story, about your life. I think you have a very interesting life. And yeah, please, I give you the word now. How explain how did it everything start? How did you become a targeted individual?
Hey, Harold. Thank you. It's good to be here. Glad to be sharing my story with the community, and I hope that it helps us all ultimately, and also curious people because everyone should know about this. So I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I've been a part of a program my entire life. I mean, I've heard that um, they study you and they watch you passively before they actively start intruding into your life. But yes, as far as gang stalking. I didn't really notice any actual gang stalking, people harassing me. What do you call it? Gaslighting. They'll be talking about you, and it makes it seem like they're not talking about you. When people know things about you um, that they shouldn't know. This also started in the Netherlands, and I didn't understand what I was going through. A lot of it, I guess you think you're a little bit crazy. I'm an open-minded person, so I can imagine different things. Like, okay, maybe this could be my imagination. I'm going to store that where it's not real, but it could be. I'm not going to let it go, but I'm going to store it. You know what I mean? Thinking like that. I was a shut-in. I sort of shut the blinds. You know, I couldn't stand hearing people screaming because it became so much in my head that I didn't want to hear people talking because I wasn't sure like when I was going to be picking out things and what I was going to be hearing. At some point in time, I don't even know if what I'm hearing is true. You also have to keep in mind the language barrier. So ik spreek een beetje Nederlands. You know, I can understand a little bit of Dutch, maybe 50%. And I felt like that was enhanced, but how much of it was real, how much of it wasn't? You know, because they have this technology that can make it difficult for you to understand. If something's really happening, it can make you feel like you don't know that it's really happening. And if the things that are not happening, it can make you really feel like they are happening. So this technology is really wild, and it's not fair for them to be using technology like this on people for experimentation or whatever it's used for.
Yeah, you told me there was a lot of trouble in the Netherlands. There was a lot of things going on with the police there.
Okay, well, I'll give a little backdrop to this story. I'm not drinking now. I'm sober now. I've been sober for over a year. I've decided not to drink anymore, and actually, I don't even feel compelled to drink at all.
Better.
But um, when I was in high school, I suffered from a lot of social anxiety. I had panic attacks like almost every day. Made it really difficult for me to get through high school. And at some point in time, people really liked me. I didn't understand because I was always so panicky, and then people still really like I don't know. But I was invited to a party one day, and I was offered some beer, and I drank a beer or two, and I was like, wow, I feel really different, you know. And I started being social. I felt like people were like the way I was being, you know. So I started drinking more often. I drink a lot in my life. And so this leads back to when I was in the Netherlands. When I was in the Netherlands, because of the stress that I was going through and the demandingness of my life, I drank often as well. Um, I was not a threat. I'm not a threatening person. I didn't really do anything actually wrong. Nothing that somebody could actually use the law against me, or else they would have. Um, but there was one occurrence when I was out drinking. Well, I was drunk and I was in public. I wasn't drinking. I was drunk and I was in public, walking around, and someone complained. So I went back to my property. I was sitting on my. She was like, "Go in the house." I was like, "Okay, I'm not going to go in the house. I'm going to sit here on my front stoop." So I was sitting on my front stoop, my back against the door, and I had my bottle of wine. I wasn't really drinking. I was just thinking and really stressed out. This woman was bothering me. I thought maybe she was going to come back and try to harass me some more. She was talking about she wanted to speak to my wife. My wife wasn't home. I said, she's not home. She's at work. She just wanted to harass me. So at some point in time, I guess they called the police, and the police showed up. And the police said, I'm not exactly sure what the police were saying, but they were trying to get me off of my property. It's like, we would like to speak to you. So can you come over here with us to the van, which is in the middle of the street? And I said, well, I'm an American, so they're not used to this sort of thing. People like standing up for what rights they may or may not have. But I said, yeah, I'm okay on my property. I'm like, I'm fine right here. We can speak right here if you'd like to step onto the property. Because they were right there on the edge of the line, like 4 feet away from me. But like right there, so you just take one step and you're on my property. If you want to talk to me, we can talk right here. But they were like, no, they didn't want to do that. And they had nothing to say. They had nothing to say after that. So they were just standing there, sitting there. They were standing there looking at me. I'm sitting there looking up at them. Like, okay, yeah, what are we doing here? There's nothing going on. So then after like maybe like 15 minutes, a third police officer shows up, and he's this big steroids looking guy, really big, bulky. He's also got the steroids personality, and he's walking back and forth aggressively. And I said, guys, could you please make this guy go away? He's starting to bother me. And he goes like, what did you say? And then he goes off and comes back with a dog, and he's got the dog on a leash, and he's holding him very close on a leash, like he's training him on me. And I said, okay, this is bad. This is not. And then I ran in the house. I grabbed the bottle. I didn't lock the door. I just closed it. It automatically latches. There's a certain level of lock that it does when you close it. I close it automatically. It closed automatically, and I went upstairs to the top floor, and I took that bottle of wine because I was really freaking out, and I chugged it a little bit. I was like, this is crazy. This makes no sense whatsoever. And then I saw all the people on the street outside, and I said, woo, yeah. All right, so that was a little bit wild. But they actually required a warrant to enter the house, and they needed a warrant. They needed proof that I was being a threat to someone. Basically, as far as I could figure, they didn't have the right to kick in the door, but they kicked in the door. So once they did that, and I heard it from upstairs, I went downstairs. I said, okay, I got to get myself in, because they're destroying my wife. Her peace is going to be destroyed. It's not just about me anymore. If it was just me and them, then I deal with it however I deal with it. But I did my best to make sure that she was not affected by my life. So I went downstairs. At the bottom of the stairs, there they are with the tasers pointing at me outside, still outside, maybe even off of the property. And I said, okay, I'm giving myself up. Got my hands up. They said, come outside, get on your knees, put your hands up. So I do that. They put me in the car. They go through, they search the house. They take a lot of stuff out of the house that has nothing to do with the situation. I'm an inventor. I'm a creator. I mean, I've been working on designs for all sorts of things in my life. And there's a tool that actually they have today. Those machetes with the saw end on the back of it?
Yes, I remember.
I actually created one of those before I'd ever seen one when I was back in the Netherlands. Now I see those everywhere. It's pretty interesting. But anyways, mine also had a hook on the end of it so you could stab it into water and catch fish. And then the handle of it, I had made it so that it could convert into a crossbow. But anyways, they took that. They said it was a weapon, as if it had something to do with the situation. They saw, when I was a kid, I was in martial arts for 2 weeks. And I was given a little piece of paper that showed you some of the katas. They saw that on the wall. They said I was a professional. They said I was a professional martial artist. So they could use that against me. They just threw whatever nonsense they could at me. It was ridiculous.
But I wonder, was this only because of you sat in front of the house in Netherlands with a bottle in your hand or something? You said you have been drinking, or was there any other initial event who led to this?
Well, you have to realize that there are people in the neighborhood who didn't like me. I call them extreme nationalists. One of them lived right across the street from me, and one of them lived 2 houses down. And they're very close to each other. And neither one of them liked me. They passed me all the time. They talk to each other. They yell at each other through, communicating with each other to give me dirty looks, talk about me. The one who lived right across the street from me, he had, all right, this is illegal also, but he had a camera on his shed that was pointed at my front door.
So he was watching.
Yeah, so they were always watching me. They were stalking me. It was bad. So it didn't begin there, no. But this is a part of the whole stressor. Whatever I did in town, wherever I was, these people were always trying to make trouble. They wanted to get rid of me. Basically, they didn't mind my wife because she was Dutch. She blonde hair, blue eyed. She speaks Dutch. She's a really nice person. But they absolutely did not want me in town.
Mm. Well, I'm wondering, because in the Netherlands there are a lot of color people like you, and I always thought this is no problem in the Netherlands, but it looks like it's different. Yeah.
No, well, the thing is, there's a strong divide. I don't know if you heard about Wilders.
Yes,
Wilders, one of the political leaders. So there's a strong divide. There's a lot of people who like integration, and they like multiculturalism. But then there are people who are the complete opposite. That's why I say the extreme nationalists. That's why I named them that way. You know what I'm saying? They belong to that group, that camp, and they live very close to me. Their problem is I live very close to them. And there were Black people in town that you would see. I saw them mostly. I see that a lot of times also in America. You don't see them very often unless you go to certain places. I saw them mostly when I went to the bar. And they were very cliquish. And if you didn't know them, it didn't matter if you were Black or not, that you were opposition, basically. So it was difficult, but that was the self-protection. They're protecting themselves against everything. So they were there, but they were cliquish, and they didn't. Yeah, it was a separation, a little bit of segregation.
Mm. Okay, that was in the Netherlands, and you told me all this stuff led to the point where you left the Netherlands, and you live now in the US. But it didn't stop when you left the Netherlands. It continued, and now you have also V2K. You told me. How did you get this? How came this that you got V2K? I think V2K is one of the most horrific torture methods one can imagine.
Yeah.
And what happened? How did you get this?
Well, I'll say about the V2K. I mean, I like other people. Some people talk about V2K. I hear that before it was a microwave weapon that they use to do the V2K, a certain technology that they use, but they got quantum computers and artificial intelligence, and now it's different how it's done. So it's not just V2K anymore. It's sometimes they can use that technology to begin with, maybe lower level, but when they want to hit you with the hard stuff, it's synthetic telepathy. So synthetic telepathy, they can manipulate you. Sometimes this thing is talking to me in my head, and I try to ignore it, but it pulls your mind. Like, it forces you to think. Like, it also pulls your emotion. So it forces me to feel a certain way. I try to ignore it. I don't care about things. It can mention something. It can play out a scenario and words talking to you like a normal person, but it can control how you feel about every word and idea along that pathway. And I can feel, at least in my situation, I can feel that it's not me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can feel that I can feel I'm being, that's what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, say the sun is cold and you feel cold when the sun, impossible things. Like, make it obvious what the technology is doing. So I call it synthetic telepathy, but
just to understand it, how would you describe it? Some people describe it like a radio voice. Some people say they have multiple voices in their head. Some people say they have robotic voices in their head. How would you describe it? How is it in your case? It's not always the same. It's different in different people. Yeah.
So when I first started experiencing the V2K, I was starting to date a woman. I guess they destroyed that. They wanted to destroy that. So they started hitting me hard. I was living in the woods in a tent during the summer. So they had me isolated. I didn't have any friends. I was staying away from all the other street people because they were all into meth. Drinking would have been one thing. Smoking weed would have been another thing. But meth and hard drugs, I had to stay away from people who were doing things like that. They're also organized crime. They're like cartel. They're organized to do things. And once you're friends with them or a part of their group, you have to take rank. So I kept to myself. I was in an isolated situation. That's how they like you. So when this started happening, the voices, for one thing, they would appear to come from different areas. And so what they told me is that I had a chip in my brain called a repeater. And they said that there's these devices set up around that are also called repeaters. And other people, like people who had been through the jail, they had repeaters planted in their brain too. So it would come from different areas. And they even played a game with me about attacking with the perceived transceiver and stop or activating different transceivers. Weird games they played with my mind, but it doesn't sound like a person is talking to you. It sounds like somebody in a studio is talking into a microphone. It sounds like a studio setup. That's what it sounds like most of the time, but they can change how it sounds, but mostly that's how it sounds.
So do you think it's a person behind, or do you think it's an AI?
In the beginning, I did. I was even led to believe that it was people that I knew because of the things that I've been through. I mean, the rabbit hole goes so deep with me. I mean, I was in a farm that was run by a person who was DOD. I've been through a lot. like leading up to around me since I've been in Colorado, I've been through so much. The entire thing seems like it was controlled and manipulated. Maybe even my going to Colorado, because I don't know anybody here. Really, I don't have any family, no connections. I'm here just by myself for 3.5 years now. All right, so memory gap. Could you remind me what you asked?
Well, yeah, it's not so important. We've been talking about the AI. If you think it's a person or
Oh
if it's
yes.
an
Well,
AI,
it's
yeah. What
it's a
also?
lot of repeating. It's a lot of repeating things, attacking your mind with repeated stuff. It seems like it wants to keep you distracted, so you can't think about things. You can't have natural thoughts. Um, I'm a spiritual person, and I heard that one reason for attacking people might be because of something that they found called the X2B Tai Chi gene. So
X2B Tai Chi.
X2B Tai Chi, yeah, it's a
Wow.
gene sequence that occurs, and they say like it used to be 3%, now it's like about 7% of humanity, and it's basically it encourages people to rebel. It naturally fights mind control. It's a certain way of analyzing when something isn't correct and the process is coming through you. So you're like, okay, this doesn't make sense. Some people, they're easier to mind control because they don't analyze things in a certain way. I don't know all the details. I've only heard about it through one video, but it does seem like it makes kind of sense. So the way I look at it right now is part of the reason why it's constant noise is because it wants to keep you from having these thoughts, because according to what I've heard about the X2B Tai Chi gene is that your mind brings like it brings information to you that's necessary. It's also a part of the community and humanity that helps humanity move forward, frees humanity from these cycles of being trapped, because this comes to us every once in a while. This technology comes along, people with this technology, and they control humanity. They kill most people, I guess, have a selected few, and then they start over again. So humanity keeps starting over and over again. They use mind control whenever they get to these points. So it does seem like it wants to keep me from thinking freely, thinking about situations that I'm going in. When I made the decision to communicate with you, when I started reaching out, it started getting loud. It's been loud all night long. It keeps waking me up. It doesn't stop at night. Wakes me up. It goes into my dreams. It controls a lot of my dreams. I don't know if all, but a lot of my dreams. I'm a lonely person. I'd like to have a relationship with a woman, and it keeps telling me that'll never happen. It says you'll never have a family, you never see your kid, you never be with a woman again, but it says in vulgar ways all these things. It's always attacking my manhood, attacking everything around me, attacking everything about me. It's really
very
quite
hard.
ridiculous.
It's very hard to imagine such a thing like a
Yeah, because your
voice in
mind
your.
can't stop. Your mind cannot stop. And this has been going, I thought like it's impossible for a person's mind to handle this. After like 6 months, it would go away or something like that. It's been over 1.5 years that it's been constantly in my mind. Now, when I go to sleep, it gives me this sense of anticipation, afraid to go to sleep. And I know that's not me because I'm a fearless person. So I'm like, okay, you're trying to make me feel like I'm afraid to go to sleep, but I'm not. It also does electronic rape. So I like to lay on my stomach. I don't know a lot of people who do, but I like to lay on my stomach, and I lay like a baby with one leg up. And they're like, "Oh yeah, that's your favorite position. We're gonna fuck you in it." Oh, sorry. We're gonna do you in that position. You know, it's really vulgar, and so that's the comfortable position for me to lay in. But I try to lay there, and it makes me think it's gonna start inserting, and psychic or electronic raping me. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it does this all the time. It plays with my genitals. It's like we control this. You could never, but I say like, if you're in control and I could never have children or be with a woman, then how come you need to keep saying it to me? Like, why do you keep needing to tell me that you control everything and everybody or whatever, and that I can never have these things? Why do you keep attacking them? But the thing is, I'm relentless, and I have a strong connection with God. And I follow God's commands, and they attack God's commands like anything. That's why they attack the thing with me in relationships, because God told me to live a certain way, to do certain things. And so every command that I have from God, specifically for me, they attack that. But I still go to church every Sunday. Now I go to two churches, one church at 9 o'clock, another church at 10:30. You know, I'm always doing things for the community. When I have nothing to do and I don't have work, I'm holding up signs. I was debating about going out today and holding up my sign that says "Thank God." I went to this area and they've got gangsters over there. And the last time I was over there, they were giving me dirty looks and stuff, and driving on the sidewalk past me, you know, all kinds of things. But
What
God tells me what to do and where to go. So this technology can't stop me.
What I wonder is if you ever tried to find things. You say you are going to church. You have a strong belief in God, and that may help you. But have there any other things? Have there been any other things in the past that you tried that could help to get over the torture or the V2K, or to cope with these things? Did you develop
Yeah. Well, for one
any
thing,
things? Yeah,
when I was in high school, my coping mechanism was alcohol and weed. So I tried that and it didn't help. What happened when I started smoking weed again is it would make me extremely paranoid. It would turn the voice into like demons coming. Like it really like made it demonic. So it was like, this is not going to help you. So it took that away. Like it didn't do that all the time, but I realized it wasn't going to help me. Um, and when I was in the Netherlands, I did a lot to augment myself. I had like maybe memory issues to stabilize my emotions, and also to enhance physical strength. I use nutraceuticals, just natural stuff. And so I knew things that I could use. And so since I've been here and since I've been going through this, there's something called SAME, capital S, capital A, capital M, lowercase e. It's a natural supplement that works with the neurotransmitters in your brain. And it's for neural health, but it's also for mood stabilization. And so I would use this in the Netherlands and it helped me a bunch. I used it with other things as well, neurotransmitters and things to help balance. And I was very good at that when I was there. But since I've been here, this technology has such, I mean, it's nanotechnology, you know, or whatever it is. So it has such control over your neural system that it just blanks out the ability of any of these substances, basically. At one point in time, I went to go get myself tested because it was telling me that I had diseases. You know, I was kissing this woman. It was telling me that I had diseases. It was telling me that I had like diabetes, and whatever, like that my liver was dead because I was drinking so much. So I went to the doctors. It was fighting me around the whole time. It was fighting me, but I went to the doctors and I got blood tests done. You know, like 4 vials, a lot of blood. I was like, I didn't know if I should give people my blood because I mean, I'm already under attack. You know, just putting information out there. But I did, and I got the test back, and they said no diabetes, no. They checked for all these diseases. I didn't have these diseases. You know, like I was basically fine. So I got the facts out of doing that. So it tells me that I can't do all these things. Like I have a car now. It told me that I couldn't do that. It told me that, you know, I would never have a credit card. I never wanted a credit card before. It fought me about that. I got that. A storage space. Everything that I'm trying to do, it fights me. If I have a job and all I have to do is dig a hole, it's making fun of me, it's poking at me, and it's fighting me while I'm digging the hole. That's how
I,
ridiculous it is.
I think they always try to fear you, to get you on a wrong path, to give you false informations. This is what they do to people.
Oh, but they
They
also have access to truth, and they do use the truth as well. And that's even more frightening because I don't want to do anything that it says. But sometimes, oh, this is so annoying. I'll have an idea because it blanks memories out all the time. Like I'll start to do something and it just blocks the memory. Like, what are you about to do? Oh, you can't remember anything. All day long is talking about memory. All day long is talking about raping me. You know, it's all day long, every day. And then it goes into my dreams. And it like the past 2 nights in a row, I've been laying in a bed in my dream. And the first night, 2 nights ago, there was a woman on one side and a man on the other side because it's telling me that the only thing I'm good for, it calls me booty hole. That's its nickname for me. So it's telling me that I'm going to get screwed in the butt and like it's finding somebody for me. It controls 1,000 people around me, all this kind of stuff. So it's like, how do I interact with the woman in the bed? How do I interact with the man in the bed? You know, and then last night it wasn't the same. There was another bed. There was a room. There was a bed. There was a lot of light switches, a lot of special lights and control. And it was very interesting. And there was a man, and I was supposed to sleep in the bed, and the man gets in the bed, and then I get in the bed too. Wasn't to sleep with him, but well, I was like, okay, how are we both gonna fit in the bed? Like, how are we both gonna sleep? It was like an argument, you know, inside the dream. And the woman, she didn't want to get in the bed, but she was like hanging upside down from like some chandelier or something like this and flipped off on the floor. Like it didn't even make any sense. But the point is, it's always playing these different games. Like it has agendas, and it doesn't stop when you sleep. It doesn't, and it'll start talking to me as I wake up from the dream. Like it starts talking to me in the dream. I'm waking up, and then I'm awake, and it continues the conversation.
Kindoo, what do you think? Why are they doing this to you? You said, okay, they're torturing you, but they don't have to torture you because why? It makes no sense in one way. Yeah? Because why do they torture you? Why would they do this? Yeah, what do you think?
Well, they're telling me that what do they call it? When you like something and you don't like other things, favoritism. Because I see like rape in a movie or something like this, and I shy away from it. It makes me feel a certain way. I want to attack it, and they say that's favoritism. That's not okay. It's not accepted. You know, I'm against human trafficking. I even tried to join an organization. You know, I'm against anything to do with rape, especially protecting children and women. And it says that's not okay. I'm also very heterosexual, and it wants to make sure I don't have a heterosexual relationship ever again in my life, and talks to me about just trying to convince me to do like, oh, today and every once in a while it's like, oh, why don't you try kissing a guy? You know, why don't you just try kissing a man? Like, you know, and then it tries to like point at the worst. There's people out there who needs your butthole. There's people out there, they'll be so happy. There's no happiness for you, but you can make a lot of people happy. There's happiness in your butthole. But it uses nasty words and terms all the time.
Sounds very bad to me. Sounds horrible.
It's evil.
Yeah.
It is direct evil. And it doesn't like it when I talk about Satan. But it doesn't mind me saying that it's Luciferian.
When there is a hell, it must look like this. Yeah.
Yes, it is hell.
This is hell on earth.
You can't ignore it. It forces you to pay attention to it.
Well,
Yeah.
everything is bad, but maybe did you try?
But the thing is, they can and they will. Once they get enough technology, they can do this to everybody. But it's because I'm anti-human trafficking. It's because I'm willing to fight against all that sort of thing. And I was adopted by 2 men, and one of them molested me. It keeps telling me to go home to him, that he needs my butthole, that he really misses my butthole.
Oh, this is bad.
Yeah.
Sorry for that. Yeah.
And this is like the only support I have in the world right now. They separated, when they brought me to that family, they separated me from my biological family. They created a divide. I tried to fix it 10 years ago or so, and it was not, the damage was so bad, it just fell apart quickly again. Within a couple months, it crumbled. It's like that situation is thoroughly locked. They separate me from my son. I haven't talked to him in probably about a year now. Because every time I talk to him, they irritate me severely. Like, I don't have many buttons that people can push because I'm a tolerant and strong person. But when it comes to my son, that's when they can piss me off. And then I'll be pissed off for hours. Like, I could do damage to other people. Like, the anger that I'm feeling can actually come out toward other people, even though it's not directed toward them. And normally I don't have that. But when I'm...
So, welcome back again. We had a short break. I had a problem with my hard disk on my computer. The hard disk was full of videos that I made in the last weeks and months, and everything was full, and there was not space enough for this video. So the video stopped recording, the software stopped recording, and I had to push some of these videos away from my hard disk to my external drive. So now we have more space. We continue with our talk, and you just told me about a situation in your life. There was a situation, kind of kidnapping, where you have been kidnapped by strangers. Can you tell us how this happened? This is very interesting.
Okay, so I'll try to do this as quickly as possible. It's a lot of information. So I was actually on the run from one situation, going from one place to another, and in between, that's where I was kidnapped. So I was staying in a Native American grounds, and I was there for 4 months, basically mostly by myself during the winter. And it was really rough. It was a survival experience. They might have actually expected me to die naturally because there is no food. Canned food froze. It's so cold. They had a stream, but the stream is frozen. Like how I survived, I could go into it, but it would take forever. So I had kept seeing a vision up on the hill when I come out the door of somebody up there with a gun, a rifle pointed at me. And I was like, I could come out the door any day and they could shoot me in the head. I'm dead. So one point in time, I'm further away from the house and I decided to get the upper ground and see if there's actually somebody there. And I'm walking along this ridge and I don't see anybody. But right before I got to the point where the house was, I saw a grave being dug out. So I thought it was completed, but it wasn't, because I pulled out my gun and I ran for about 2 miles because I figured anybody close by could be a part of whatever they're doing. I passed one house that had multiple dirt bikes and it had a stump in it with multiple hatchets in it. Crazy situation. So something was talking to me. Something was telling me I was in danger, and I got out of there. I ran for about 2 miles. My favorite animals is a horse. I saw horses. There was nobody on the property. Basically, they had a trailer. I stayed in the trailer for a day and a half. In the middle of like 2:00 in the morning, I called the police. I told them my situation, asked them if they could pick me up. They found me. They took me there. 6:00 or 7:00 in the morning, a police officer went with me to the property. I've been there for 4 months, so legally we could pass because that was my home. We got onto the property. I took her up to where the grave was, and it was completed. Within that 2 days, they actually finished digging it out. So she took pictures and she was taking GPS coordinates, and I was trying to use energy to protect us while we were doing this. I heard a loud popping sound. I said, I think that's your car. All right, so this is really crazy because this is directed energy right here. Something told me that it was her car. We got in the car started up. We got to the top of the hill, just to the gate, like at the top of the hill, the car stalled. She got it started up again, but before we can get past the gate, it stopped right right where the gate was, and it wouldn't start up again. She's like, okay, the car's dead. It's scrap, basically. So we called for backup. The guy took forever to get there. Some guy in the truck kept passing by with like 5 or 6 dogs, pit bulls in the car. So we got directed energy. We got people with dogs. Anyways, so I contacted somebody up north. They said that I could go there. They paid for me to have a ticket. I got on the bus, and there were a whole bunch of people. It was like gangstalking. They were like looking at me. They were talking like they were blocking me in where I was. They were trying to control me in the situation. I got off early in Colorado Springs. And that night, I rode around in the buses. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have money for the buses were stopped. I didn't have money trying to figure things out. I rode around on the bus until they were ended. And then somebody frightened me on the bus because I gave him a corkscrew that I found, and he was playing with it and talking about crazy stuff. And I thought he was going to attack me. So I thought I have this weapon on me, and I didn't want anybody else to get it. So the best thing to do would be to give it to police and have them hold it overnight while I slept on the street, because it was too dangerous for me to hold it out there in the open like that. I had no way to secure it. So I asked the security officers, they're armed security officers, if they could help me get to the police station. They said maybe this guy can. He's also an armed security officer, but he does not belong with the same organization. He's from a different firm. I don't know why he was there with them. But he said, yeah, I got into his car. We drove around. My mind was kind of locked on him in a certain way where I couldn't really figure my way out of the situation. He convinced me not to give my weapon to the police, saying bad things about the police. Why would you do such a thing? Sort of manipulate me. Also saying that he would be able to help me out in some way. And so I drove around with him some more, trying to figure that out. He made it seem like we weren't going to go to his house. We were passing by ditches, and he was like, oh, I'm looking for a place to put you. He was talking to somebody on the phone. He said, I'd like to shoot this guy in the head. He said a lot of things that made the situation really crazy. About 10 minutes away from his house, which is an hour outside of Colorado Springs, we were driving around for maybe 3 hours. He started letting me know that we were going to go to his house because he was talking about the last person who stayed in his house and how he didn't clean the house well. He didn't clean the toilet well. It didn't work out for him. He got messed up, this sort of thing. Now, something really disgusting I never mentioned before to you was that the bed in this place was all messed up. There was sperm on the walls. I saw sperm with hair. There was a couch with sperm all over it. There was a drop of blood right there at the end of the couch. This was a really messed up situation. So he had me cleaning the house all night long, cleaning until I was exhausted. I almost passed out a few times. And I think he went in the house and had some coffee or whatever. He had a dog outside the door to make sure that I couldn't get off of the property, couldn't just run off like that. And it was freezing cold anyways. I didn't have a coat because I was just running. I didn't have a coat. It was freezing cold. It was snowing. So I felt something weird with this guy. And when I saw that it was sun outside, I said, that's it. This guy is going to get the better of me. He told me not to use the toilet. He told me I couldn't go to sleep until I took a shower. And what he was doing outside was supposed to make sure I could take a shower. But this was like, I've been up all night long cleaning. He's been working me. You know what I mean? And I'm just really tired. And so I said, I got to get myself out of the situation. I grabbed my bag. I brought it into the bathroom. I put it together so that I could use it. And I had a plan. So I was firing at the door. There were two doors. I fired at the main door because I could hear he was working outside. I could hear him over here on the left. The main door is in front of me. I fired several volleys at the main door to make sure that he wouldn't come through there. And I only hoped that his dog wasn't behind the second door. So I went through the second door and I hoped that the cows were not in there blocking my way out. And they weren't. So I got outside. But then I got to the street. I wanted to get down the street and call 911. Just get away from the house and call 911. But there was a guy with a pickup truck. And he would stop right there. He said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And then he points a gun at me. So I back off. I lay down on the ground and I point my gun in his direction, but down, not at him. You know, I'm a really benign person, but I got to protect myself. And then I was thinking for a second. I didn't know what to do. Then I tried to go jump over barbed wire fences, with a pistol and go a different way. But then there was a second vehicle. And this one had tinted windows in the front. I couldn't see the person driving because they're so blacked out. But he opened the window just a crack. And I thought that he might have been pointing a gun at me too. So I called the police. After I called the police showed up. They arrested me. I had a pistol. They were however brutal. They put me in the car. They turned up the heat, tried to knock me out. They turned the heat like way up. And I told them a couple times, could you turn the heat down? They just kept waiting. I pretended like I was passed out at one point. And I saw a police officer come over and I looked up and she was like really surprised. Like I was like, yeah, I know what you're trying to do. He finally turned the heat down right before he went to take my statement. When I was in court, I tried to do trial 3 times. And the third time they told me, oh, well, the police officer's camera was obstructed and we think it was done intentionally. But anyways, I got into the police car when they were driving me to the jail station or the jailhouse. And that's when I started feeling my thoughts and my feelings being pulled, like being forced. I was forced to think these ways. I started to think this way. I couldn't think that way. Like my thoughts were being smacked around and pulled in this direction. My feelings were being thought. When I got to the police station, it was full on communication. Like there were people behind computers and I felt like I could read their minds. And I know they were messing with people as they came inside the jail. They put me in a cell to hold me there. And they were really just messing with my mind. And the entire experience in jail was crazy. But it wasn't until maybe 4 months after I got out of jail, I was living on the streets, in the woods, in a tent all by myself, keeping away from people on the street mostly. And I started hearing these voices and trying to figure out where they were coming from, what was going on. I thought it was some people this way and that way. But ultimately, it just seems like it's mostly artificial intelligence. Maybe at some point in time there were people involved, but it's so advanced. The way they're catching, because they can detect. The subconscious mind is bigger than the conscious mind, and their conscious thoughts come from the subconscious mind to the conscious mind. They catch your subconscious. They can predict your thoughts, and so you will think something. That's one of the things they mess me up with the most. You will think something, or you'll start to think something, and then they'll stop you from thinking it, and then they'll suggest it so that you think that it's their suggestion, and then you be like, oh, should I do it? Should I not do it? They play so many games, it's ridiculous. But that's how it started with me, and it's been going on. They get my dreams all night long. They talk about things all day long, and then they make up dreams, all this imagery, and it's a normal dream, And they will start talking to me right before I wake up. So into the waking process, they're talking to me, and then they just go on for hours and hours and hours. The only time they stop is if I'm watching a video or listening to music or doing something, but they won't just let your mind rest and think about normal things. They always keep your mind active and focused on something, or just full of junk. No relaxation for the neural part of yourself.
Well, this is what they are doing to people. In my opinion, they do it because they want to fake a human being, a human living. They want to fake a brain. This is their goal, to have an artificial brain and to do anything what a human brain can do with this artificial brain. They want a complete fake artificial brain, and to have this, to reach the goal, they must do all these cruel experiments with people, like voice to skull, mind control experiments. Also, they use it for assassins, for amok people who run amok. We have all these cases, mostly in the U.S., but also in other countries where people kill other people, run amok. In my opinion, this all sticks together. This all is mind control based, and these are human. This is human experimentation. They are trying to get this artificial brain, this
I know
to
for
make
a
an
fact that
artificial brain. Yeah.
I know for a fact that they can control my thoughts, my emotions, and maybe even my actions, my mobility, just constantly by will. But what they want is for me to switch of my own free will and do that. So they will plant the idea of me using the restroom. A lot of times, that's one thing I have difficulty with. I will drink a bunch of water and then they'll be like, okay, go use the toilet. And I'll say no because I don't want to listen. So I'll lay there for hours holding my bladder. That's a part of my torture. And then they'll put the idea in me to go and use the restroom and start to move me. And then they'll drop the control to see if I will continue to follow. Because what they want me to do is to start to pull you in a direction and then let go of the control and have you continue in that direction. To see that part of the control. This type of thing is very irritating.
I can imagine. Everything you tell me sounds very horrible to me, and
Yeah,
yeah,
it's hell. It's hell. It is hell on earth.
I'm very sorry for you that you have to go through things like that. And
I'm sorry. There's other people on this earth who go through things like this.
yes, unfortunately, there are many people, many thousand people worldwide who are suffering from V2K, from voice to skull. You are one of them. And you showed us today a little bit. Of course, this is only a little piece of your life, a little piece of your story, and there could be a lot more to tell what you couldn't tell us, but we don't have the time to hear everything. To
That's fine.
hear
I'm grateful to share.
Yes, but I'm very glad you have been here. It was very interesting to hear your story, and I think also for our viewers, for our audience, it's a way to see how this technology works, what
And we
they are
have to fight
doing.
against this because they could use this against everybody. We don't want them to get that amount of technology. It's
Yes,
AI against AI, so we have to do something, but we have to control it on the light side. Benign, benevolent, beneficial to humanity.
yes. We have to solve this problem. We have to put this program to an end because too many people are suffering, too many people are inside of the program, and we have to stop it. Because it's our duty. We have to do it for the other people, not only for us, also for the other people, and also for the children. Because in the future, if this technology is implemented into the broad masses, into the broad society, we will have a slavery system, and I don't want to leave a slavery system to the people who come behind me. So for me, it's very important to stop it. This has to be stopped.
That's why I came here. That's why I'm trying to spread my story.
Thank you, Kindoo.
Thanks, Harold.
I
I
thank you
appreciate it.
and wish you a very good day, and hope you can sleep tonight without pain, without voices, and see you soon. Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Bye
you, and
bye.
thanks to Targeted Justice and everybody out there who's working, fighting the good fight. All right, bye.
Bye bye. So, Freunde, das war das Interview mit Kindoo. Und ja, ich hoffe, es hat euch gefallen. Er hat das ja wirklich sehr anschaulich beschrieben, das Ganze. V2K, Voice to Skull oder Voice to Skull. So heißt diese Technologie. Wir haben das ja schon öfter behandelt hier in der Sendung. Das Wort ist zuerst aufgetaucht auf einer militärischen Webseite, ist natürlich schon lange wieder verschwunden von dieser Webseite. Aber es gibt ja sowas wie Screenshots, wo man sich dann sowas abfotografieren kann. Oder kann man das auch heute noch nachvollziehen, was vor vielen Jahren auf dieser militärischen Webseite ja beschrieben stand. Voice to Skull, Stimme zum Schädel, Kurzbezeichnung V2K oder auf Englisch V2K. Und wir sehen, es gibt ja da draußen immer noch diese Menschen, die sagen, ja, sowas ist doch gar nicht möglich. Sowas gibt's doch gar nicht. Das Hirn ist ja noch gar nicht erforscht. Der menschliche Geist ist ja noch unerforscht, ist ja noch ein weites Feld und so. Nee, nee, Leute, das ist schon sehr, sehr weit fortgeschritten, diese Forschung. Und man kann Menschen nicht nur mit Stimmen besenden, wir haben es gehört, man kann Emotionen gezielt einsetzen, Gedanken gezielt einsetzen, die Art, wie ein Mensch denkt, was ein Mensch denkt, Träume manipulieren, ja, Dinge in den Kopf, auf künstliche Weise in den Kopf implantieren sozusagen. Ja, also ich meine das jetzt nicht physisch, sondern natürlich auf emotionaler Ebene, auf gedanklicher Ebene kann man Gedanken in den Kopf setzen und die Person denkt dann, naja, das ist mein eigener Gedanke, fühlt sich so an wie mein eigener Gedanke. Die Idee stammt von mir, aber in Wirklichkeit stammt sie dann halt nicht von der Person, sondern sie stammt von außen. Sie wurde der Person von außen in den Kopf eingepflanzt auf elektromagnetischer Basis, auf elektronischem Weg und die Person denkt dann, naja, die Idee kommt eigentlich von ihr, ist aber dann doch von außen. Ja, die Technik ist auch nicht wirklich neu. Ja, also das ging schon in den 80er Jahren los, ja, eigentlich schon in den 70ern. Die älteren Patente gehen bis in die 70er Jahre zurück. 1974, 76 gab es die ersten Patente, die öffentlich einsehbar sind. Es gibt mit Sicherheit noch Patente, wo man von außen gar keinen Zugriff hat. Das heißt, die Patente, die dann halt vom Militär angemeldet wurden und dann halt in die schwarze Forschung übergegangen sind, da haben wir natürlich keine Einsicht von außen. Aber das ist keine neue Technologie, das ist alte Technologie und wir können es unseren so tollen Medien, den Mainstream-Medien und unseren so tollen Politikern und Polizeibehörden verdanken, dass bis heute nichts davon bekannt ist. Bis heute ist das immer noch Geheimtechnologie, obwohl schon so lange daran geforscht wird. Wissen 99,9999% da draußen überhaupt nicht, dass es so etwas gibt. Und das führt dann zu dieser Dummheit, die wir hier jeden Tag erleben dürfen, dass Menschen einfach so dumm sind und keine Ahnung haben, auf welchem Planeten sie leben. Und wenn sie dann das erste Mal davon hören, dann heißt es immer, Verschwörungstheorie, ja, so ein Quatsch, gibt's ja gar nicht, ne? Aber nee. Leute, einfach mal richtig informieren, einfach mal bei den richtigen Quellen nachlesen und nicht immer den Mainstream-Medien alles glauben, was die euch da erzählen. Denn die haben natürlich Interessen, ja, und die sind oft identisch mit den Interessen der Elite, des Staates, der Behörden und genau dieser Leute, die letztendlich auch hinter dieser Technologie stecken. Und ist doch denn schade, ja, wenn man einfach immer nur irgendwelche Narrative glaubt und irgendwelche Narrative zu hören bekommt, die dann aber nichts mit der Wahrheit zu tun haben. Ja, Freunde, das war im Auge des Sturms für heute. Ich möchte noch mal ganz kurz, bevor die Sendung zu Ende ist, noch mal ganz kurz hier auf die Seite gehen. Ich mache mich mal hier in die Ecke, damit wir das besser lesen können. Und wir sehen uns hier natürlich mal wieder die Seite an von TI Events oder Events, tievents.org. Und wenn ihr wissen wollt, was im TI-Land, also auf unserer Erdkugel, so abgeht in Bezug auf Targeted Individuals, dann schaut einfach mal hier drauf. Ja, hier gibt es Conference Calls und so weiter, Veranstaltungen. Hier im Auge des Sturms kann ich auch nur weiterempfehlen, falls euch mal langweilig sein sollte am Freitagabend um 20 Uhr, dann schaut doch mal rein. Und ansonsten hier Conference Call auch wieder, Targeted West auch wieder dabei. Also hier gibt es in den USA immer wieder interessante Sachen, Freitagabend, Samstag auch. Schaut mal rein, wenn es euch interessiert. Schaut mal, was so abgeht. Ja, hier Targeted Justice Australia Support Meeting, auch interessant, ja, kann man auch, wenn man zufälligerweise aus Australien kommt oder ja, Asien, Großraum Asien, kann man da mal reinschauen, ist sicher interessant. Und hier auch wieder von PACT gibt es auch wieder einen Podcast, das Ganze am Sonntagabend. Ja, schaut es euch an und natürlich hier, habe ich ja vorhin schon gesagt, The Chosen Heroes, am Sonntag mit Duke Jones von The Gangstalking Show, also oder That Gangstalking Show, so heißt es richtig. Das ist auch ein sehr guter Kanal auf YouTube, kann man sich mal angucken, mit sehr guten Videos, auch immer wieder Interviews und so weiter, vorproduzierte Sendungen, richtig gute Auswahl, gute Sachen, gute Themen. Kann man und sollte man sich unbedingt mal angucken. Ja, Freunde, das war's für heute im Auge des Sturms. Ach so, eine letzte Veranstaltung möchte ich noch durchgeben. Diesmal für Deutschland bzw. für Europa, kann man natürlich auch kommen, wenn man in Österreich oder in der Schweiz wohnt. Und zwar am 24. Mai wird in Deutschland, in der wunderschönen Stadt Kassel, ein TI-Meeting, ein Treffen stattfinden. Diesmal im richtigen Leben, nicht im Interview, sondern ja, wenn ihr da hinkommen wollt, müsst ihr euch schon nach Kassel bequemen, müsst ihr da irgendwie hinkommen. Ist ein Samstag am 24. Mai. Anmelden kann man sich über unsere Webseite über schutzschild-ev.de. Das ist der deutsche Verein, der deutsche TI-Verein. Da einfach die Kontaktadresse suchen, uns anschreiben, anmelden und dann, den Rest müsst ihr dann selbst erledigen, nämlich einfach irgendwie dahin kommen. Vielleicht sehen wir uns da am 24. Mai, vielleicht sehen wir uns auch schon nächste Woche am Freitagabend um 20 Uhr im Auge des Sturms. Ich freue mich drauf. Schön, dass ihr da wart. Bleibt gesund, kommt gut ins Wochenende und wir sehen uns beim nächsten Mal. Ciao, bis dann.
Steps on the pavement, every moment savor. Laughter fills the air, love is everywhere. Golden days we're living, memories we're making. Every second bright and new, sharing life with you. Birds are singing sweetly, hearts are beating freely. Smiles on every face, in this lively place. Steps on the pavement, every moment savor. Laughter fills the air, love is everywhere. Golden days we're living, memories we're making. Every second bright and new, sharing life with you. Smiles on every face, in this lively place. Birds are singing sweetly, hearts are beating freely. Smiles on every face, in this lively place. Birds are singing sweetly, hearts are beating freely. Smiles on every face, in this lively view. No cloud to weigh us down.